And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, Game Source, and the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there. Listen to all of our great shows. And if you can, please give us that 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, if you could share, subscribe today to get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air with the latest PCC Multiverse, State of Pro Wrestling, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, or all the great stuff that we do with this show that's circulated and syndicated around the world on radio stations worldwide, right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend, my compadre in crime. He is a great man indeed. He is the mastermind behind everything going on with the Super BS Games Cast. Please go ahead and check out the latest episode today, celebrating July 17th of all things. And also, as well, he created his latest article that you need to check out on Alien Prometheus, in honor of the upcoming Alien film and TV show as well, which just wrapped. It is my good friend, the Happy Hoarder himself, Josh the Great Pederson. What's up, man?
What's up? You know, the Alien franchise is funny. I know we'll talk about this at a later date, but...
Oh, yeah, we will face the franchise on Alien, yes, in the coming days, so...
Yeah. I just I keep thinking about this, and much in the same way like Predator, you know, the fact that how many times can you show a movie featuring an alien running around on a spaceship killing people? Same thing with Predator. How many times can you feature Prey was not a bad movie. I will give them that. But yeah, I don't know. Like it's Prometheus was special. Anyways, I digress.
We'll find out, my friend, because if it hits big in August, which, as you and I know, it's not always the greatest month for box office returns, then I don't know. We'll see. I do have hopes for it. It has trended very well. Also, the fact that it has done very well in previews. I love the fact that they've done a great marketing pitch for it. The VHS trailer that they did in the VHS style, I thought that was really cool, super smart, and I think that they will go ahead and succeed. The series, which just wrapped filming by Noah Hawley, I don't know if that will work, but we'll see if that does. But yeah, I still think there's life left in the Alien series. But again, one of these days, soon, maybe perhaps on the weekend when Alien drops, we'll face the franchise on the Alien franchise once again. Xbox, always great to have you here. He actually even said on the Lakers Fast Break that he had back-to-back. He listened, or binge watched the Pop Culture Cosmos. Several episodes, in fact. And we are grateful to you, Mark, for all that you do to support us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. Absolutely.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. So we are going to talk about a lot of great things, including this weekend. This upcoming weekend. Yes, it is, of course, Comic-Con, but Josh and I will be back next week to go ahead and cover Comic-Con in great detail. But at Comic-Con, they're going to be debuting a little indie film called Deadpool and Wolverine. Later on in the show, we will talk about the importance of Deadpool and Wolverine to the Marvel future. Basically, how much is writing on Deadpool and Wolverine? We'll talk about that. Plus also as well, Josh and I got word this past week that rest in peace, Halo. Rest in peace, Master Chief. We're going to go ahead and talk about that as far as what went wrong, and will we see ever a entity go back to the world of Halo in the world of television and film again? We'll talk about that, plus some other great stuff on the show as well, including EVO 2024, why you need to care if you're into video games about EVO 2024 that took place this past weekend. But first, my friend, Twisters. Absolutely. A really good blockbuster movie, my friend. started off on a really good note, strong numbers, above expectations, about $80 million and domestically, and then also I believe about $150 million worldwide. It's going to be trending at a good start for a film and a franchise, possibly coming back out of this. My friend, your thoughts? Glenn Powell. I talked about this on the Lakers fast break. We talked about how I had already seen this. Like Hollywood gets behind someone. When they feel the momentum with the star, you've known this because we tracked this a lot of time. They really get behind someone until they fail. Then when they fail, they get off that train really quick.
Taylor Kitsch is a perfect example of that. Yeah,
Taylor Kitsch, absolutely. Remember Battleship? Remember John Carter? Yeah,
yep.
They got off his train really fast. Right now,
Yeah.
everything in Hollywood's on the Glenn Powell train, and with the numbers you're seeing, especially this past weekend, the hit with Hitman. And as far as the one with Sydney Sweeney, the movie that he made with her, you can see why.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a couple of things. Like one, I didn't know the premise of this film because they didn't really show what it was about. Obviously, it's about tornadoes, but they didn't really show like what it was about inside a lot of the trailer that they showed. So then I go and read about this film. It's about people. What do you call he's a social media influencer.
He's a YouTuber.
He's a YouTuber.
God bless those YouTubers, man. Wish I knew any.
Dang, what? Right? I was like, dang, way to really make an old franchise feel fresh to a modern audience. Like that.
Mm-hmm.
That is such a great idea. And then on top of that, like the writer director of the film, people are putting him on the spot in an interview I was reading with him and saying like, hey, why did you not use this opportunity to talk about global warming and climate change, blah, blah, blah. And he had the best answer. He goes, as a filmmaker, it's not my job to preach to people. It's my job to provide entertainment for you to get away from the stuff in the real world. So I was like, that's a really great way to approach a question like that. And it looks like, judging by what it's doing in the box office right now, it's sitting at 123 million. It's doing just that. So like I'm really excited to go check this movie out when I get a chance, hopefully this week sometime.
I wish it. I mean, the only thing about it that I didn't like is the fact Helen Hunt decided not to be a part of it. That was the only thing. They used someone else in that role. I thought that was a little bit out of character, out of taste. I would have avoided that.
Character?
Pardon?
Is it the same character or played?
I believe it is the same character or whatever. Yeah, I believe it is the same character. Yeah, so she's just. It just was not a good fit. I would have just gone with her, and if she said no, just try to avoid it altogether. You know what I mean? That probably would have been my best. Yeah. Outside of that, again, it's just dumb fun. It's just dumb fun. They're chasing tornadoes. The thrills, the chills. They know exactly what it is, and the director came from that area of the country, so he has firsthand experience in dealing with it. And yes, it is over the top, but it knows exactly what it is. And that's why I think a lot of people like this film. Like you said, movies don't always have to make a statement.
No, they don't.
But they do need to they need to keep the audience entertained and wanting to go ahead and return to the movie theaters for either a sequel or another film. And in doing so, I think this does a good job of that, a really solid job of that. And I congratulate the crew of Twisters for having what looks like it will be a box office success, Josh.
And you know what's funny too is that out here in Texas, so they're right up the road from us. They have this place they call Tornado Alley, right? It's where tornadoes seem to hit a lot. And my brother actually lives right smack dab in the middle of it. But actually a few weeks ago, a tornado actually ripped through a city right up the road, right up the highway from us. But people out here in Texas, like, they're terrified of tornadoes. But I'm reading these like boards on social media, and people from Texas are like, well, I mean, I guess I can leave my house not leave my house. I can go and face my fears and watch Twisters in the movie theater because we really dig what's being said about this movie so far. So I'm like, if you're able to get people who don't like those kind of things into the movies to watch them, then you're doing something good.
Yeah, if you're getting people to actually experience tornadoes to watch a
Right.
movie about tornadoes, then there you
Mhm.
go. You've got your job well done. Again, it's a
Exactly.
movie. Just you take it for what it is. It's just popcorn entertainment. It knows exactly what it is, just like the first one did. The first one did. It just knew that it was just there for popcorn, just
Yeah,
there for,
exactly.
I don't want to say mindless entertainment, but just there for entertainment. And in the long run, when you're spending $10, $20 a shot for tickets, it's not what you want. Is you just want to be entertained.
Yeah, yeah, and it sounds like they're doing just that. So, hey, congratulations on putting a film out that hits makes everybody want to watch it. So, good work.
Absolutely. Good work indeed. But if you out there want to go ahead and hear more or see more or actually know more about Twisters, go ahead and check out what we're doing, what we're covering about how well it's doing at the box office at Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook. But also, if you have seen the movie and you have thoughts, please share it with us in the comments below or at Pop Culture Cosmos at yahoo.com. But before we head to the break, my friend, Evo 2024 here in Vegas, thousands have now arrived. It is huge now. Evo 2024, my friend, has hit a stage for video game fighting fanatics that I'm very happy to see. I've had my differences with the people that have run it personally for now for a little bit, but regardless, I am still happy for them for the success that it created and the success that it is now. I understand Sony has owns the rights to Evo now. I understand all that, but hey, it's great that it's still an environment where fighting fans can come together. They see the best of the best. They know all the names. They know all the players. I was watching a bit this past weekend on Twitch. Twitch is entirely devoted to it, which was more devoted to us, but it was entirely devoted, like three separate channels with tens of thousands of people into the maybe even to the hundreds of thousands of people at one time watching particular events, including the finals. Your thoughts, my friend, on Evo 2024 before we hit the break?
Yeah, I mean, it's been going on for a while now. Like
Mhm.
I remember we talked about this a few years back, and Street Fighter was the big game here, but I don't know what are they playing in Evo now? It's I know Street Fighter is still getting
Still Street
played.
Fighter, still
Have
Smash
they
Brothers, yeah, still the mainstays and all that. Mortal Kombat, they're still doing a lot of that. I mean, especially with, it's a great way to go ahead and see the latest Mortal Kombat. Street Fighter, was it Street Fighter 7? Am I up to, or Street Fighter 8? Mortal Kombat 1, the
yeah,
rebooted one. Yes.
one
So
Tekken 8 just made its grand entrance this year too.
exactly. And it's also a great place to debut a fighting game or maybe some new characters. Just your, as is your core audience. No, is it going to appeal to everybody or gamers out there centrally? No, but it does appeal to the fighting fan. There is a nice, nice, larger and growing audience for it. And in the world of esports, it's one of the biggest things out there, Josh. And I'll tell you what, I'm happy for them. I'm happy for the success of Evo 2024, and may it continue to last and grow even bigger in the following years.
Yeah, you know what's crazy too is that esports is, especially out where we are, like it's gotten huge and people are getting scholarships playing stuff like Super Smash Bros. So I mean,
Mhm.
I don't see, like, Evo is such a great thing because it gives those players something to strive towards. Like, oh man, I want to compete in Evo one day. So yeah, I mean, I definitely think that we are going to be seeing more of this in the future. I don't think it's really going anywhere anytime soon.
Well, I'll tell you what, my friend, I am still very happy for Evo 2024, the folks at Evo. I know they've worked hard on trying to make it a premier event in the sports realm, and they've done a great job in doing so, and I wish them continued success. But it is Evo 2024, the World Fighting Championships. If you want to go ahead and check out all the action, you can still watch today on YouTube and on Twitch. But if you are a big fighting game fan, who do you follow and what games do you follow in the world of fighting? please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it is, of course, Josh, the great Pederson, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Wanted to ask you this before we get to the Halo saga finally ending for now. Wanted to hear your thoughts on this. I thought I just dropped this on you because it just hit me. EA has finally done something right, Josh. It brought back a staple of video games that was for many years a great part of what was going on in the world of sports video games, and that is College Football 25. It brought back last week, which just came out of early access or access for if you spent the money on the special edition. Now get this, Josh. It's the first college football game to come out in over 10 years. And if you got a chance to play it early if you bought the special edition at $100 or more. I think they might have had other versions, but at least the minimum is $100. They got over 2 million people to buy into that because over 2 million people were playing the early access to it. Your thoughts, my friend? A few years ago, Charles O'Bannon, who actually was, he actually worked at a dealership that I bought a car from once, at a Toyota dealership here in Las Vegas. He filed lawsuit against the NCAA, which because of his likeness was used without his permission, was thrown by the NCAA, which led to a huge lawsuit settlement. And now to the point where these companies now have to go ahead and get permission to use these players in there. What this created, though, is now the opportunity after all these years to play college football on a video game console or PC once again. Your thoughts on the huge interest in college football once again with College Football 25?
So wasn't it the issue was that the college players were not making any money off of the merchandise and the football cards and things like that?
That's correct. That's why Charles O'Bannon, who is out of Las Vegas, you best know him from his days as a basketball player with him and his brother Ed O'Bannon at UCLA, and his likeness was used in a video game. I forget which year, which title, whatnot, but one of the sports titles. So he sued. It led to a larger suit with the against the NCAA, and basically the athletes won. And so now EA had to go out to all the different athletes and say, you know what, we'll give you a stipend of about $1,000 or something. I think it was something or somewhere around there, but we can use your likeness, et cetera, et cetera. So now these kids are at least getting something out of this. But yes, just the fact that it had been held up for all these years, that there was no college football game, this pent up demand, because you are a collector, how valuable the last college football 14 with the Michigan Wolverines player, I believe it is, that the college football 14, how valuable that one was before this was announced.
Yeah, because it was the last of its kind. But I think that this is great. It's a small step towards making up for years and years and years of people ripping these players off. These kids who are being taken advantage of, saying like, well, when you make it to the pros, you'll be able to. But a lot of these kids don't even make it to the pros. So it's they've been. Like I said, it's a small step towards making things better. But yeah, I mean, it's a welcome return for sure. Because I remember being a kid and playing NCAA on Sega, and how much I enjoyed my time with that. And I don't know, there's just something about like playing the college games because you're playing teams and players that you think are going to do great things one day, as opposed to players that are going to do great things. So I don't know. It feels like there's more at stake when you play, a college football season on one of these games. But anyways, like I think that it's a welcome return. We need more games, or not. We need more, but I've missed being able to play those games.
And it's great because I'm hearing positive reviews. This again coming after a 10-year layoff like that. The one thing I feared was that a lot of what other people feared as well is that it would be a Madden reskin, and that'll be just another like hybrid of Madden, and the same kind of gameplay style and things that you're doing is very similar. And they could have very easily, EA has done this before, where they've just slapped on something and just shipped it out there. Sometimes their ports are really bad, especially their FIFA ports are really, really bad. So they've been known to do that. So there was the temptation, I'm sure, to cut costs, cut corners, and make sure that this game could have been a reskin of Madden. But in process, what I'm hearing is that it's not, and that it's its own definitive football experience. And in doing so, that makes it even better, because after 10 years plus of waiting, Josh, for a college football game to come out, it's really nice to see that the fandom out there is getting exactly what they're hoping for.
Yeah, and now it's just a matter of seeing whether or not they rinse and repeat the process. Like, is it going to sell enough to merit being, putting another one out there, or are they still going to be putting most of their funds behind Madden, which I don't even know how many units Madden sells these days, but they keep putting a new one out every year. So it's just we'll have to wait and see what happens with this.
I have a feeling, Josh, they're going to college football 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Yeah, you'll see that. Yeah, especially after hearing that they made $200 million in its first week before the game is even officially out in stores to release, Josh. When you get a jump like that, I think you pretty much can bank on a college football 20.
Probably already working on 2025s, or 2026 or whatever.
There you go. But what are your thoughts out there on college football 25? It did get released out into the wild. It made over $200 million in its first access week, per se, for those who bought the special edition. Share us your thoughts on college football 25. If you played it, tell us if you like it, and is it a departure from what you're playing with Madden? Please let us know at popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. But before we hit the half-hour break, my friend, a show that has given us quite a bit of angst. Remember, I had red hair before this the series started. No, I'm just kidding. But
bright red.
Yes, it was bright red before. But it is Halo, the series that was just canceled after 2 seasons on Paramount Plus. This show, we've seen a lot of lows and a little bit of highs in this series. We've been hard on the show. And I think that for me, if somebody were to come up to me and ask me, why did the Halo show get canceled? I'll just tell them honestly, because the people who worked on the show are the same people or had the same mindset that people in Hollywood have had for video game properties for decades. Not the people who worked on The Last of Us, not the people who worked on Fallout or Arcane or any of the good products that are out there that better represent television, as far as anything on television or movies in regards to video games. This is the old school way of doing it, and then ultimately it failed because of it.
Yeah, that's so I don't know, man. Like, I had not completely, at the end of the last season, we talked about it and how bad it's been. The first season, it had its ups and downs, right? Like, it had moments that felt redeeming to me.
Okay, and to you.
Yeah, there were moments. I don't know. Well, I remember us having conversations, and we're like, "Oh, that was a pretty okay episode." Like the Fall of Reach episode, right? We're like, "Oh, that's okay."
Season two. Yes, the Fall of Reach is That's exactly how we envisioned the Fall of Reach in a visionary form. Yeah, that was definitely a high for us.
Yeah,
but that was
season 1 was a slow moving train wreck.
Yes.
I don't know, man. I got to the end of the season 2 and I had some hopes. I was like, oh, they're finally going to be introducing aspects of like Forerunner technology. Like, I thought it was really cool when they went to they were in the caves, remember, and they found the Forerunners like dead on the floor. And granted, they probably be a little more decomposed, you think, but they found that, and that's how they were able to, like, they had the flood. That's how the flood got out and into the base. So that was, not to be desired. But I got to the point where I was kind of fascinated as to like what they're doing with this. Like but it seemed like the more the show went on, the farther and farther they got away from what Halo actually is.
Just the farther and farther they got away from the fall of Reach, they went back into old habits, and old habits die hard for me. And season one was, like you said, for me, it was a fast moving train wreck, because it just seemed like a train wreck to me. I remember how much I went off on the cable car asteroids. I'm like, what in the world does this have to do with Halo? I can't believe it. And then they had this stuff all the side as far as the syndicate, like alien syndicates on different planets. And like, what does that have to do with the Halo mythology? I don't get it. And then the fact that Pablo Schreiber, good actor, not trying to fault him at all, but he had on his, okay, look, you see right above me, you see Master Chief has his helmet on throughout hours and hours and hours of the games that we played. He has his helmet on. He had his helmet off more than on in the entire 2 seasons of the series, my friend. A lot of people like me take issue with that.
Yeah, it's funny because the showrunner, I forget, Stephen Day Knight, I think that's who. I don't know, actually, I don't remember. But they interviewed him about this, and they're like, "Well, the show is not about the Master Chief. It's about John 117." I'm like, "Well, that's kind of redundant because they're the same person, like it's nobody played the game and like, oh, I wonder what the what John 117 does for fun. Nobody thinks that. Like, so what exactly is the point of the show then?
I just felt it was a missed opportunity the entire way. And I had some hope, Josh. I had some hope halfway through the fall of Reach. Again, that was pretty much how I would have envisioned or tried to, if I was sitting in the director's chair, would have directed a episode or series around it. Because it actually it's more than one episode. It encompasses about probably the span of 2 episodes as far as if you look at it. But I still think that, again, they took whatever momentum they had coming from the fall of Reach, and they just absolutely ruined it, and it was just disappointing, and I'm really sad for it. But yeah, it's just a really disappointing day, and as far as what they did with it, and I'm just sad, and I'm hoping that they will go ahead and revisit again. But that's the thing I want to ask you before we head to the break. Will they be revisiting the Halo franchise in a media form?
Okay, so from what I understand, they said they're looking to shop it around, but I don't know who would be willing to pick it up if it went to Microsoft Studios, and they were to do something with it. I don't know if they would exactly like pick up where the Paramount Plus one left off. I think they'd probably start from scratch, but also they don't know what they're doing with Halo at the moment too. So it seems like it'd be a risky proposition to have them take it on. So I don't know. My hope would be, return to a streaming story, but stick to the things that make Halo so great. The mystery, the intrigue of the Forerunners. We don't necessarily I don't mind seeing Master Chief with his helmet off, but I don't necessarily need to have an entire show about Master Chief being framed for one thing or another. Like, make it true to the lore of Halo, and I think that would go a long way with making people want to watch something like that.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. But if you have thoughts on Halo and its ending, and would you like to see continue or something else in the Halo universe, please let us know. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, 1/2 hour down, 1/2 hour to go here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. It is, of course, Josh the Great Pederson. Check out his latest episode of the Super BS Games Cast. Also, as well, go ahead and check out his latest article that he has out there. Go ahead and check it out today because it's on Alien Prometheus. So go ahead and check that out. Josh, you know what's coming up this weekend. One of the biggest movies of the year, could be the biggest movie of the year in Deadpool and Wolverine. Your thoughts, my friend, when it comes right down to it, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been a mess the past 2, 3, whatever, how many years since Avengers Endgame? It's been a mess. And
Yeah.
I think that right now, with what is going to go on with Deadpool and Wolverine, this is one of the most important films in the MCU. I'm not going to say it's bigger or going to be bigger than Avengers Endgame or Infinity War or anything like that, but I'm going to say right now, this is probably the most important film right now in the MCU.
Yeah, because I mean, you came off of Endgame, and everyone was just blown away by what had happened. Like, how do you take that and top it moving forward? And they tried. It seemed like maybe they had a direction they were moving at first, but then it just got worse and worse and worse. And now here we are. Before Deadpool and Wolverine was even announced, everyone's like, "Hey, what's happening?" And I wonder too if like there's got to be a definite like drop in viewership, judging by the box office numbers on some of these movies. But we're at this point where like, hey, are you have the MCU, you have it's a shining beacon of cinema for film goers all over the country, and you're ruining it. And so they made plans with Jonathan Majors, right? They're like, yeah, we're gonna do like the Kang dynasty or whatever it is, and then that stuff happened with him. So then they kind of found themselves at a point where they needed to do something with it, and I think Deadpool and Wolverine could be the very thing that saves it. But if it doesn't do well, like I guess that's the big question here, is like what happens next? Do people keep does the MCU sputter on, or does it reboot, or what do they do with it at this point?
Yeah, that's the problem. If it does fail, if it disappoints, that could be a big concern because that's a big part of our life. You and I have been watching this universe since 2008. You realize that?
Yeah,
16 years now of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
thing is
And
crazy.
it's really at right now at a really dangerous point where if Deadpool and Wolverine doesn't hit, there could be some really, really big problems for Disney and Marvel. And that's the problem for a lot of people out there who want to go ahead and follow this franchise. They're asking for just cohesive storylines. They're asking for storytelling that's good, that's solid. Lately, we've seen miss after miss after miss after miss from Marvel. And that's the part that's been disappointing the most. So that's why I'm asking you, my friend, when it comes right down to it, Deadpool and Wolverine, is this the most important film of the MCU?
I would say so, because we're at a crucial point where it's either you know poop or get off the pot. Like it's to put it bluntly, like this has to hit, like this is an amazing opportunity, using all the timeline stuff to right the ship, to go back and fix, I guess, reboot in a way without actually rebooting from scratch. But um this is their last chance, I think, to really fix what has happened. And I know, we talked about with like the new Captain America movie, like they should have waited to show that trailer like after Deadpool and Wolverine came out. But also, much like we talked about with Alien, like the MCU cannot keep doing the same thing over and over again. I think that was another big issue with them too. Is like, oh, we're gonna have a big brawl, we're gonna make some jokes, and then everything will be fine afterwards, much like we saw with Ant-Man Quantumania, and that did not work out too well for them either. So Deadpool cannot do what Deadpool did in Deadpool 1 and 2. Deadpool 2 is basically just a Deadpool 1 in a different setting. So they at the same time, they can't do something like that because that's not going to really help them. So yeah, something's got to change. This movie's got to do really well. I think it will. All the publications are saying that it's at least the first 30 minutes are pretty good. So yeah. What are your thoughts? So what's on the what does it have to do for you?
I'm nervous, man. I'm really nervous because I'm just not sure they're going to get it done because I've seen miss after miss after miss these past, what, 5 years since, what, did it come out 2019 Endgame?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that's when we were out with you
2019.
guys. Yeah.
Yeah. So 5 years of mostly misses. Shang-Chi, I thought that was pretty entertaining. There's been a couple entertaining films, but it not really been able to hold itself well, the MCU, since Endgame. And so I'm really nervous. I'm really nervous about what you bring. Deadpool 2, really good, but is the act going to get tired when it comes to Ryan Reynolds? Because Ryan Reynolds seems to be, he's getting into a one note type of deal where he can only act a certain way, and that's
Plays
it.
Ryan Reynolds in every
Yeah,
movie. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm not sure. I'm very thankful for the fact that Hugh Jackman is coming back into this, and I think that's going to breathe new life into both those characters, not just Wolverine, but I think the fact that he plays off and that they're such good friends in real life, and they actually do things together off camera and hang out and all that, and that they're such good friends and all. I think that chemistry will boost Ryan Reynolds' performance as well. So that's what I'm hopeful for. I'm not 100% confident that it's going to pay off, but I'm intrigued, my friend. I'm intrigued, and I do think that they've got some pretty big, ambitious plans for Deadpool and Wolverine and what it's supposed to do to reset the Marvel universe and put it back on track. So I'm hopeful for that. But when it comes right down to it, my friend, I'm looking forward to seeing what they will do to, and when it comes right down to it, entertain. What are they going to do to entertain me, make me laugh, and make me want to come back to watch more Marvel movies in the future?
Yeah, I agree. I hope that it delivers. And it's funny to think that of all the superheroes that could save the MCU, it's Deadpool, and it because this happens all the time in the comic books too. So it's just, I don't know, it's ironic in a way. But yeah, I don't think that it's going to do bad. I think people are going to like it, and with all the timelines and how aware of itself these movies tend to be, I think that it's going to be exactly what Marvel needs to keep fuel in the tank, but also don't blow it. Don't, if this film is a success and it does put everything back on the right course, don't blow it.
What are your thoughts on Cassandra Nova, the sister of Charles Xavier, being the key antagonist, or at least what we see, or what we've been told, what we've been shown in trailers and in previews, is going to be the key antagonist for Deadpool and Wolverine? What are your thoughts on Cassandra Nova being the antagonist for Deadpool and Wolverine?
I got to be honest, it was a pretty dark place to go with the villain. I don't know if you know like her backstory, but
Not a whole
it's
lot. Not a whole lot. No.
okay. Yeah, it's
You're the
pretty
comic guy,
dark.
remember?
Yeah, yeah. So
I'm
her,
just the
yeah,
guy
her
who
back.
gets the free comic book on free comic book day.
Hey, nothing wrong with that, man. But yeah, her backstory is pretty dark. She's not like prominently featured in a lot of the X-Men comic books, so it makes me wonder exactly like what her what their plans are for her. But yeah, I don't know. I like judging by the trailers. I don't have any strong opinions one way or another, but I do think that from what I've seen, like she looks pretty cool and she seems pretty intimidating. So especially against someone like Deadpool.
So if that's the case, Deadpool comes over from the Fox universe and all that. Obviously, him and Hugh Jackman, the best parts of the X-Men universe that, of course, Disney now has full control of. If you're running Marvel, if you're Kevin Feige, where would you go as far as how would you treat the X-Men universe? How would you treat the Fox universe of movies? How would you treat that now that you have possession of those movies and those characters? I mean, you're obviously trying to pick and choose and cherry pick whichever ones that you want that will help your larger agenda. But what would you do with the rest that are still there?
That's really hard to say because a lot of those properties have been so mangled by the storytelling done over at Fox. Like, look at Cyclops is a prime X-Men member, and he's dead, right? Like, he was disintegrated by Jean Grey. Jean Grey's gone. Um, Fantastic Four, they've already got another reboot planned, and it doesn't seem like there's any hope that we'll be seeing any of those original characters, especially Chris Evans, back in that role. What else was on? I think it's just Fantastic Four, right? And X-Men. But yeah, I mean, they've taken a lot of the characters that people love, and they're either dead or something has happened to them to incapacitate them on screen. So at that point, who is left to play with in that sandbox? I think that, yeah, right. I think if they want to bring Hugh Jackman over, that would make sense according to what's happening in Deadpool. Deadpool coming back would make sense, but are we going to have this world now where, like, say, X-Men's rebooted and everyone's alive, and Deadpool's going to be the only one who's aware of how things used to be? Who knows, right?
Who knows? Absolutely. So I don't know. We'll figure it out together, hopefully, about what's going to go on with the rest of the universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, starting this week with Deadpool and Wolverine, the very much anticipated Deadpool and Wolverine, how it will reset the Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. And if you get a chance to check out the movie, which again, a lot of people will, because it's the first time a lot of people have been excited for a Marvel product in quite some time. Please let us know your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Last break in, it is, of course, Josh the Great Pederson and me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching, listening. On the subject of Marvel, my friend, did we touch on last week your thoughts, your concerns over Brave New World? Because you said you're not into it. I seem to be the only one that I know of that's really buying into it, because again, it just felt like to me it's got the Winter Soldier motif already down. It had the music, it had the tempo. It felt like a spiritual successor to Winter Soldier to me. Maybe I'm willing to go ahead and embrace it because of that. But your thoughts, my friend, before I get back into the director of Winter Soldier, or directors of Winter Soldier, and their new future with Marvel going forward.
I think I don't remember
I think
exactly
you might
what I
have
said.
touched on it, but I wasn't sure.
did.
Yeah, I think you did. I think you did already.
So to me, I think that
I mean, have you had some time to think about it? As all Anthony Mackie, he is not Chris Evans, but he's Anthony Mackie. I appreciate and love a lot of things that he does, and he does. But in Captain America, he's not been given the same kind of powers, the same kind of larger than life persona, and he knows that. But I think that's what works best for this character, is the fact that he doesn't have the super serum flowing through his veins.
Yeah, so to me, like, Steve Rogers' origin story as Captain America is far more interesting than, Anthony Mackie becoming, or, Sam Wilson becoming Falcon. Not to say that it's not going to be good, and I could be pleasantly surprised, because yeah, that's what Captain America is traditionally about, right? It's about the underdog rising above their circumstances and taking down whatever villain is there. It happened with Steve Rogers. It appears to be happening with with Sam Wilson. So I could be wrong. The movie could be great. Captain America is just not a character in general that I am too excited to see. I'm more excited about watching a movie with Captain America than Captain Marvel, but it's just one of those characters that's never been my favorite to watch.
Well, again, I said, because me, I'm a big stan of Winter Soldier and the directors of Winter Soldier, Anthony and Joe Russo, the Russo brothers, who achieved success with that movie. And then obviously they did Infinity War, Endgame. They did one of the other Avengers movies, correct?
No, because there was Joss Whedon and did both the other two Avenger movies, so I don't think they.
Oh,
I
okay.
think it's just in
Are you
War and
sure
Endgame.
Joss Whedon did it? Okay. Okay. I thought.
Civil War, was
Okay,
it
did they do
Civil
Civil?
War?
Did they do? I think they did Civil War. I think they did Civil War. So, well, the reason why I say that is so they have a plenty of Marvel experience, and as I noted quickly to Melinda on our Friday show, they are deep in negotiation. I'm assuming they've already agreed to coming back to helm the next two Avengers movies, Josh. It was something where there was all these writers rumored, and as far as which way is going to go and who is going to sit in the director's chair. The Deadpool director was going to be considered for
I
doing what
remember that.
the
Yeah, he was doing script duty on
yeah,
one of
yeah.
them.
So I wonder why the switch to the Russos was made. But your thoughts on bringing back the Russos, who have had some mixed success in their time away from the Avengers. They Everything Everywhere All at Once as producers of that. Obviously, they've had some great success there. Uh, The Gray Man, very expensive movie on Netflix, did pretty good. Some other stuff that they produced didn't quite do as well. But your thoughts on the Russo brothers coming back to Marvel?
It's the right move. Why?
I think it's
Sorry,
the
you
right move
have
for both parties.
for both parties. Yeah, you have this. You have the Avengers property, right? This is not like establishing a superhero or continuing the story of a superhero. You're already in dire straits, so you want to bring directors on that know what they're doing and have had experience with this sort of thing. And the Russos have had, and obviously they're not going to bring Joss Whedon back into the MCU after everything that went on with him. So you have you have these directors who have had success, and you need this next Avengers movie to really be successful in order to keep the MCU moving for, what we assume is going to be the next 20 years or whatever. So bringing them back into the fold is the most logical thing that Marvel can do if they want these films to be successful. Because I think there's three three or four Avenger films planned. So I don't know, I don't know which one's coming out first, or if that order is still going to be happening. But yeah, this is probably the smartest thing Marvel and Disney have done in quite some time.
I can't wait until later this week we see the timeline from Kevin Feige again, and we'll go up and probably do a flash screen on next week. We'll say, "Oh, is this going to be canceled? Is this going to be?" It's so funny because when they went 2019 back again at Hall H at Comic Con when they did the major timeline of how the future of the MCU is going to be branched out and all that. It was our 2018 or whenever. I mean, we covered it on the show, but yeah, when you look back on it now, it's just like cross this out, this didn't happen there, this didn't happen there,
But
cross this out. So
yeah,
yeah,
that'll be the presentation. Be Kevin Feige with like one of those overheads from elementary school, and
yes,
he's up there
they're
and he's got his little
protected.
Sharpie and he's
Exactly,
crossing out things that this isn't going to happen anymore, and then he scribbles in like a new film title.
exactly. The one thing I hope he gets right, and he's still talking about it, Josh, is Blade. As long as they're talking about it, they lost their director again in recent weeks, but that was due to more not creative differences, just timing as far as when they schedule it on out. As of this past week, Kevin Feige is still talking about it in the context of it being an R-rated film, which is what I think they should do Blade as. I more than appreciate that, applaud them for that. But the fact that you've got such a great talent as Mahershala Ali, been sitting now for years waiting for this to happen. My God, will you just go ahead and come up with a script that will allow this to happen? Because if they can create a video game, and if it comes out, Josh, and it comes out, because they've already announced the Blade video game that's going to be on the way here in 2-3 years. If that comes out and it's good, then people are going to be screaming, "Why couldn't Marvel had done a story like this?"
What's crazy is that Marvel doesn't have to try very hard to make a good Blade movie because there are a lot of great Blade stories out there, but look at the first two. Like I forget who did the first one, but then the Guillermo del Toro one too. Like those were really, really stories on those were just stupid, right? But they were fun movies to watch, and people enjoyed watching them. So you have to put in very minimal effort to make a good Blade movie. So I don't know like why it's taking them so long to do that.
It doesn't seem that hard. It doesn't seem that complicated. It's not like you're trying to build a universe per se. It's not like you're trying to
Right.
construct Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. I could see that those two movies, what you wanted to accomplish, how you write it out, that could take years writing that, Josh. The
Yeah.
participation of all the different characters, et cetera, et cetera. That takes years for those two movies to be made, constructed, written, screenplayed, the whole 9 years. I get that. Blade is a
Yeah.
vampire movie that's a vampire hero. Doesn't seem that hard. It's one of the better movies. People still say
Yep.
it's one of the best movies. I still say it's one of the most enjoyable movies of all superhero movies that are out there. It doesn't seem that to me it would be that hard to make a Blade movie. But am I
No.
wrong in that?
No, you're not. You're not. Just give him some swords, throw some vampires out there, and let him do his thing. It's much like it's not that difficult to make a decent Punisher show or movie or whatever. I mean, the one with Punisher Warzone was pretty bad, but look at the one with Thomas Jane. Like people really like that movie, and all it really was him walking around killing people. So it's the same concept. Just have Blade do what Blade does and make it look cool, and people want to watch it. Nobody's going to a Blade movie expecting to have like a deep philosophical storyline. They're just going to see Blade do what Blade does, and that's kill vampires.
Absolutely, my friend. So we will see what happens, but I am intrigued at the hiring of the Russo brothers returning home to Marvel to see what they will do with the next two Avengers movies. So if you have thoughts on the Russo brothers and the Avengers, and again on Deadpool and Wolverine coming out this weekend and what it will do for the MCU, please let us know. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, before we head on out, I wanted to give you some time to go ahead and plug your latest works, including something on Alien Prometheus and a little chat that you had on the latest Super BS Gamescast.
Oh yeah, we've been doing some things. So with I have my blog out there. You can check it out. It's joshericp.wixsite.com or Josh Author. I don't remember. We'll post the links on the
I'll
social
put
media
yes,
pages.
I'll
Yeah.
post it.
So I mean, and I went back and watched Prometheus, and I think, 12 years later, this is not as bad as everybody said it was, and you can read my thoughts on it there. Super BS. We actually went back and explored like 20, 30 years worth of Star Wars video games, and there's some gems in there that I completely forgot about. Like what was the last? What was the first Star Wars game you ever played?
I'd have to say it would be the arcade, the Star Wars arcade game. You know, the one with the polygonal effects,
Yeah,
with the digitized voice. That would probably be the first one that I played, as far as with the type, not the TIE fighter. Yeah, it was a TIE fighter.
yeah.
Yeah,
Arcade One Up did
yeah,
a
yeah. They
copy.
did
They released that
exactly.
one. Yeah.
That's the first one I think that I played. But I may have played one on the Atari 2600 or 5200 at that point in time earlier, but that's the first one I really remember in the arcades because that was like 83, 84, I think, when
Mm-hmm.
that came out. And I really enjoyed that. And I played that a lot. It's very hard once it gets super fast, but yeah, it to me was very enjoyable. Dark Forces I played in the 90s. That is a really, really good first person shooter. So if you're into first person shooters from that PC 90s era when PC gaming was at a high, it's at a high now, but it was at a high then in the 90s, I would suggest Dark Forces. But you guys came up with some real good stuff as well on that show.
Yeah. So Dark Force, it's funny with Dark Forces. I remember, I don't know if you ever like shopped at Office Depot or whatever, but I remember there's an Office Depot right up the road from us. When I was a kid growing up, and you could walk in Office Depot, and they had the long aisle of computer games. Remember when they all came in those giant rectangular boxes? But at the end of the aisles, they always had PlayStation games. Like they didn't have a huge selection, not like Target or Toys R Us or whatever, but they had a small selection of Star Wars games. And I remember always seeing, I saw Rebel Assault in the PC area, and they had a couple others, and they had not Rebel Assault, sorry, Dark Forces, and they had Rebel Assault in the PlayStation games. It had the Millennium Falcon on the cover. Yeah, I don't know, that really nostalgia, man. It really takes me back. But I remember the first Star Wars game I played was the Star Wars Empire Strikes Back on the Game Boy.
Yes.
And it was like stupid hard.
There's also, what was it, Super Star Wars or
Super Star Wars Trilogy. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Playing on the Nintendo systems that I remember playing as well. I enjoyed that. And yeah, there's a ton of games out there. I think the Battlefront games, yes, obviously everybody that lived through that era enjoyed the Battlefront games of the PlayStation era, but
for sure. Yeah.
Don't sleep on the Battlefront games by EA that came out. They got a bad rap. I know there's a lot of controversy that we covered on this show with the Battlefront games, Josh, but if you go back on it now with the Xbox Game Pass, or you just go back into it, Battlefront 1 and 2, especially Battlefront 1, I didn't think was bad at all. I had fun playing it. I enjoyed it. I played as a multiplayer experience. I thought it was really good. Did it have a single player deep experience that I was hoping for? No, it did not. But I thought it did a lot of the things I wanted to do. Star Wars Squadrons came out in recent years, and from a standpoint, I wish they had combined like they do for the best Battlefront games.
Yeah.
As far as that's concerned, the best Battlefront games combined airborne and ground tactics that are both really, really good. Plus a lot of side stuff where the building falls down, all this stuff. I remember like Battlefield 3. I wish they had done something that combined the best of Squadrons, that combined also as well the best of Star Wars Battlefront. I wish they had done that, my friend.
Yeah, I think those newer Star Wars Battlefront games were put together so hastily that there's a lot of things they left out in those. I would highly recommend, though, if you're someone who has not played Star Wars games in a long time, the Jedi Fallen Order games are actually really great. Anyways, there's a whole like back
and they're available free on with part of Xbox Game Pass, just to let everybody know.
Game Pass. Yeah, exactly. But
which you don't even need a console for. You don't even need a console, man.
No, you don't. You don't. So what do you have to lose? But yeah, I don't know. A lot of Star Wars games out there. Anyways, we talk about our top 5s or 10s, I don't remember, on the Super BS Games Cast. So you can check that out. I think it's still listed under the Pop Culture Cosmos feed on iTunes. So you can definitely check that out.
Absolutely. Great suggestion, my friend. And I truly appreciate Xbox. Big shout out to Mark in Australia for binging the Pop Culture Cosmos. My friend, it's been a great episode again. Hopefully people will binge this as well. Any last thoughts, my friend, on the way out?
No, I mean, this is it, right? This week's Do or Die for Marvel. I think Deadpool and Wolverine comes out on Thursday, if I remember correctly. So we're keeping our fingers crossed, hoping for the best. And, if not, I'm sure we'll hear about it by Friday morning.
Well, we'll hear it by Monday morning, and we'll be back next weekend to talk about it, how well or not so well it did, the public response, the reviews. We're going to spend a lot of time on Deadpool and Wolverine, maybe spoilers, some spoilers, not spoilers. We'll get into all of that on the Monday show because it's important to you out there. It's important to us. It's the best of pop culture, and it is the most important thing. But also, Josh, Comic-Con this weekend. Gotta love it.
So hopefully we'll get some pretty cool announcements coming out here.
Yes, I cannot wait. It's the best time of year. Again, that's my bucket list, my friend. It's only 2: CinemaCon and Comic-Con, man. It's only 2, man. It's only 2.
Yeah, I remember when Comic-Con was not that difficult to get into, but then all of a sudden the fame blew up around all the Marvel, Walking Dead, Big Bang Theory, whatever. But yeah, yeah, it's definitely not the smaller convention it used to be.
So for Josh Pederson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great